Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. In this lecture, we will be discussing with respect to the 50% tariffs that have been imposed on India by the USA. Yes, so of course it is going to hurt us, it is going to hurt our exports, but we'll also see how does it also hurt the United States of America as well. So let's get started with the context first. The context is about the tariffs reaching 50% on Indian exports to USA. Now, this is majorly targeted in the sector of textiles, jewelry, chemicals, furniture, and footwear. Now, what is the intent of this tariff? The intent is twofold. Number one was to reduce the trade deficit. USA wanted to reduce its trade deficit with India, and number two was the fact that USA wanted to punish India. Why? For procuring or importing crude oil from Russia. Now, this is what it is all about. However, in reality, what is happening is it is of course hurting India's exports, that is a given, but it is also leading to supply chain issues in USA, because of which inflation is increasing in USA and the businesses are getting hurt, and there is a prediction that it can also impact USA's GDP. So all this and much more is what we are going to see in today's lecture. Before we move on, an announcement with respect to the new batches that are starting both in regular and the weekend batch form. From 22nd and 16th October are the regular batches, and 4th and 25th October are the weekend batches. So make sure you enroll before that. Once you do that, you will get a lot of advantages over other places, is because there are a lot of added advantages, some of which is mentioned here. The most important can be the one-on-one mentorship which you will get from these experts in the field of UPSC. Yes, they themselves who will be teaching you throughout your course will also be mentoring you as a personalized mentorship. You will be having regular interactions with the educators. The maximum batch size is just 40 students. There will be daily mains answer writing practice, in addition to of course the test series for both prelims and mains. Now, the approach to current affairs that we have is a 360-degree approach, wherein every week close to 1 day worth of live classes will be taking place only for current affairs, in order to ensure your current affairs is comprehensively covered for both prelims and mains. So if you want to enroll with us, you can simply download our apps that are there for both Mac, or let's say Apple and Android, or you can log on to our website, that is www.legacyIAS.com, or call on the numbers that are mentioned over here. So let's continue with the news. So what are the reasons for imposition? We already saw that India is continuing to import Russian oil, and this here could be countered by saying that even China is importing Russian oil. However, USA has clearly mentioned that China's import of Russian oil is different from Indian import, right? So why is it different? It is different because USA says that India is profiteering by reselling Russian oil. The point here is that India buys crude oil from Russia at cheap prices, then basically refines it into petroleum, and then sells it off, exports it off, as a result profiteering from it. That is why imposition of tariff on India and not on China. However, to counter that, we can also say that the point was these tariffs were as a secondary sanction on anyone who's trading with Russia, irrespective of the reason as to why you are trading. So again, this basically the hypocrisy of USA can be countered like this. Moving ahead, India's tariff regime was already criticized by high tariffs on various goods which were coming from USA. So that is another reason because of which there was trade deficit, and USA wants to lower its trade deficit, and hence the imposition of the tariffs. Now, the response from India is quite clear. India does say that through our Prime Minister, it has been mentioned that that means India may have a more increased pressure, but India is going to bear it. India is going to bear this pressure. Now let us see how we will do that. But before that, let's look at what will be the impact on us. India is basically India's largest export market, right? USA is basically India's largest export market. 55% of our exports will be impacted because of the tariffs, specifically in the field of textile, leather, chemicals, jewelry, etc. And here we will be disadvantaged with respect to Vietnam, Bangladesh and China. This is very important to note because these countries provide all these things, especially the jewelry, etc., at a not the jewelry, the textile, etc., is provided by Vietnam and Bangladesh at a very cheap price. So we are going to lose ground over here, right? As a result of which our export is going to decline. Now moving ahead, since there will be import impact on Indian exports, the Federation of Indian Exports Organization has called for loan moratorium, cheap credit, government aid, so on and so forth for the exporters, for the export production businesses and organization. Moratorium means a period wherein there will not be any need to pay any EMI. The example here could be like that of study loan. So when you take a study loan for doing, let's say, MBA of 2 years, for 2 years you're not paying any loan. After your MBA is done, a couple of months after that is when you start paying the loan. So this entire duration is known as the moratorium period. So that should be provided, cheap credit should be provided, and government aid should be there. At the same time, India should, so as I said, we will bear the pressure. So how we will bear it? It is not just we will keep on taking the hit, we need to also diversify our exports as well. So we should, as per the Commerce Ministry, we should be looking to focus on new markets, that in Latin America, Africa, as well as West Asia. And also, since we are getting crude oil at cheap from Russia, our import bill is anyhow down. If we start importing from somewhere else, it is going to cost us more and going to increase our import bill as well. At the same time, this tariff is not going to only hamper India, but also hurt US businesses as well. So the State Bank of India, or the SBI's report, has mentioned that US's GDP might be hit by around 40 to 50 basis points. That means 0.4 to 0.5%. So it will be hit by around 0.4 to 0.5%. Now, higher input, because of tariffs, the cost would be higher. So the input costs for the raw materials that the USA is taking from India to convert it into finished good, etc., would lead to higher cost of the finished items as well. At the same time, even when the tariffs are there, even certain finished goods are going from India to USA, since tariffs are high, that is going to lead to increase in prices in the USA, as a result of which the USA Federal Bank's target of having inflation at around 2% will be hampered, because inflation, because of this, is going to go up, and the consumers, that means the citizens of USA, are also going to suffer for this. The sectors that are more vulnerable are automobiles, electronics, consumer durables. So basically, ultimately, the customers or consumers will definitely be suffering over here. Now, another thing here is the fact that, of course, the costlier imports of raw material and all will lead to increase in prices. At the same time, the supply chain will be disrupted. Now the producers of USA will be getting things at a higher price, so there might be delay in payments, so on and so forth. So the supply chain may disrupt. There is a lose-lose situation for USA, because the countries, in fact, even USA would be looking for China plus one policy. China plus one policy means, if you don't want to trade with China, if China is strong arming us, the USA, for the matter of fact, then you can look for another country as a substitute for China. And one of the countries that can be substitute of Chinese goods and things that China exports is India. But imposing heavy tariffs on India takes away that one China plus one strategy out of the equation. So it is again going to hurt USA. Moving forward, for India, what are the key takeaways for India? It is that we should not be overly depending on the US market. It is going to create vulnerability. At the same time, we need to diversify and focus on domestic consumption. For USA, the takeaway is there will be a rise in inflation. It will hurt the consumers, weaken the supply, and USA's China plus one diversification strategy is going to fail. Thank you.